Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in this crypto world. My name is Cody, and I am your host for today on the Bullpen. So welcome everybody. It's going to be an exciting time. Waiting for a few people to kind of join us while I'm getting them up on stage. Bear with me, and we'll be right back. So bear with us. All right. Looks like I've got my co-hosts with me. George, if you're having a hard time connecting, drop out and come back in. I'll get you back up. That usually fixes the problem. But in the interim, while I'm trying to get these guys up, I want to welcome to the stage my co-host, Scott. Hey, are you there?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. Got a Red Bull in me and I am doing really well this bright early morning for us. So
That's very on brand.
it sure is. So yeah, while I'm trying to get George, our other co-host, up, why don't you go ahead and just kind of give a quick little intro about yourself as well as just maybe a little intro about what Receivable is all about. Oh, there you are. Yeah, I can hear you now. So
Fantastic.
let's start with Scott and then we'll go to George.
Thanks, Cody. So my name is Scott Goldman, and I have been operating within the revenue-based finance industry for the past decade. Uh, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the revenue-based finance industry or don't really know what it does, it's basically the industry that keeps Main Street businesses afloat from a liquidity standpoint. In the U.S. at least, 4 out of 5 small businesses can't qualify for financing from a conventional bank. And so it can be very difficult. And for anybody who's listening that's owned a small business, I'm sure they can relate. I've owned many small businesses myself. Um, yeah, it's really hard to walk into a bank as a small business, even if you've been in business for several years, even if you're generating revenue, even if you have lots of customers and everybody loves your business and your product. When you walk into a bank and you say, hey, Mr. Banker, I need a loan for my business to help it grow or to help take care of a problem. They say, thanks for coming in, but we can't help you. So it's a big problem. And so for the last quarter century, 20 to 30 years, in the U.S. at least, that's what I'm most familiar with. The revenue-based finance industry has filled that gap. They've filled that liquidity gap, and they have been providing small businesses with the working capital that they need to grow and thrive and scale and take care of problems as they arise. And it's a big industry. Depending on how you crunch the numbers, anywhere from 25 billion to $100 billion a year is put out to small businesses in the United States alone from the revenue-based finance industry. So I've been working in this industry as an originator for the past 10 years. And over that time, I've learned a lot about the industry. I've learned a lot about small business, and I've learned a lot about the problems facing the industry, as well as opportunities to provide unique solutions to those problems. And that's what Receivable is all about. So I'm also a crypto enthusiast and a blockchain enthusiast, and I've been active in the space since 2016, 2017. So this is like my fourth cycle or whatever, And I got into DeFi in 2017, and that was sort of when I had the idea for Receivable. And I've been working on it since, but there hasn't been an alignment of technology and market conditions and regulatory conditions until now. So now is the perfect time to bring this concept to market, and we've put together a fantastic team, and we're working diligently to launch. And what Receivable aims to do is use blockchain technology to solve problems in the revenue-based finance industry, particularly by tokenizing receivables for small businesses and creating a secondary market to connect those receivables and all the participants in the industry to Web3 liquidity and investors. And so that's what we're building, and I'm excited to talk to you more about it today.
Love it. Love it. And, so we've got our other co-host, George. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey there, everybody. So I kind of came into this revenue-based financing industry directly from Scott, actually. I've spent my history kind of working at a few different boutique hedge funds, in some crypto companies as well, centralized and on also some decentralized projects. But a lot of my time and experience is spent on markets, market making, trading, and then actual operational efficiencies, kind of growing and scaling. I helped to grow a $4 billion loan book that was against cryptocurrency. So that was a lot of fun. Learned a lot in process efficiencies, actual automation efficiencies, and whatnot. So excited to be able to, you know, take this industry by the horns. And Scott, like I said, brought me into it, explained it to me. I've helped small businesses before in many different ways, kind of as a consultant, but the ability to actually help them grow and access the financial tools that they need was something that was just never there. You can't, like Scott said, you can't go to a bank as a small business owner. If you have a small business, maybe you can get some revenue-based financing from if you have a big name company that does it, like Stripe offers a very similar product and whatnot. But the most of America, how they operate is just, their bank account, their ACHs, they get checks, their trucking industry, roofers and whatnot, just really being able to help these people that keep the infrastructure of America moving is something that spoke to me a lot. And just being able to connect the two, like Scott said, get DeFi participants access. I mean, how many times have you thought, man, I wish I could help my local business out and invest in my local economy, but there's just no structure for it. There's no market for it. There's no way for me to do this rather than taking on an inordinate amount of risk and going and working with one business independently or something like that. So I just love the idea of being able to take this into the future where crypto is going to democratize and make everything hyper local, but also hyper connected, and allow people to say, look, I'll invest in any small business across the world, but I'll also give preferential treatment to my local community. So if I'm in the Tampa Bay area, I want to specifically fund businesses in that Tampa Bay area. And I just really think that smart contracts, permissionless funding agreements are really the only way that we're going to be able to facilitate all of the new coming small businesses and all the small businesses that are currently here. We hear about the silver wave, the silver tsunami, all these people retiring. So there's new business owners stepping into place, and they're looking for new products that can actually allow them to access the financial tools they're looking for. We hope that Receivable is able to, exist in that marketplace and really service that brand.
That's awesome. Awesome. Pretty excited, to definitely dive in a little bit more on this, industry that you guys are tackling, for sure. But we've also got two other panelists that are joining us, some OGs, some legends in the, crypto, spaces, vertical. And so let's turn it over to Soulbound. Go for it. Just do a quick intro and tell us about your project.
Hey guys, I hope you can hear me well. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, no, Axel here behind the Soulbound account. I do BD and Latin operations for Soulbound, and I've been part of it since its inception like 3 years ago. No, even more, 4 years ago. I have a background. I started on blockchain in 2019 as a community contributor for the Swiss for DAO, and then I rank all the way up into being community manager for the project. That's a financial services project in Europe, and yeah, I always had passion for gaming. That opened the doors to jumping into Soulbound. We started as a reputation system. Nowadays, because we realized reputation systems and questing platforms are not the way to actually move the needle beyond just like verifying certain actions of the users. We wanted to empower the creators and the viewers and communities of those creators. And yeah, nowadays we pivoted from last year forward up to now into a streaming platform. So we are a decentralized streaming platform that's incentivizing creators to test out Web3 games or to even share whatever they're doing, sports, cooking, I don't know, play music, whatever, because we know there are other projects that are looking into, activating the people, and adding the blockchain technology into it. So yeah, so far we've done fairly successful campaigns with AVAX, with SUI. We've activated Shadowline off the grid, and reached over 300 streamers worldwide that have done the CTAs requested by the projects under these blockchains. And right now, we are fairly focused into delivering more features for our viewers, so they can monetize that way too. We have the prediction system now; they can predict what the creators are doing and tip the creators as well, while at the same time building their XP within the platform. And that's what we're up to right now. Fairly excited to be here. It's my second space of the day, so I have 4 or 5 spaces more to go over. Yeah.
Love it. Wow. You definitely do a lot of spaces. That's a lot to do in a day. I think my record is 8 spaces in a day. So, I will never do that again, but it was a lot of fun.
It's fun. It's very fun, and you learn a lot, and it opens your mind. So I guess I have one day of the week in which I really want to do like many spaces, so I can get data and I can analyze it and talk it to the team. So it's interesting, yeah. And we have our own space tomorrow, so it's a good prepping for it.
Awesome. Yeah. So, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. And, we've got, joining us next is Amplify. Jeff, the founder, I believe, is behind the handle. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Correct. Hey guys, how's it going? Good to see some of you here. I think, Soulbound TV, we spoke, I think on the last one. I think actually Receivable as well. Nice little crew we got going on here. So yeah, I'm Jeff, founder of Amplify. Amplify leverages agentic intelligence to build digital wealth on chain. You can think about us as like the decentralized Nexo or decentralized Celsius. The idea there ultimately is to make DeFi more accessible to a much wider audience. So users globally actually use DeFi to build wealth on chain. And the reason is it's just too difficult, right? There's just too many blockchains, too many protocols, 10,000 plus liquidity pools, 100 different wallet providers, 50 plus bridges, specialized terms, etc. So it's very difficult for the average person to get involved. And so we use a combination of account, token, gas, and chain abstraction techniques to remove those technical barriers, and then offer simplified sort of one-click strategies to users, which is powered by our AI model, which ultimately distributes the assets across different chains and protocols without the user having to move assets across chain or make any swaps or manual optimizations. And then it also rebalances those assets on behalf of the user. So again, the user doesn't have to seek out the best yield generating opportunities. Our model automatically does it for them. So that's pretty much it. Happy to be here.
Well, welcome. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on our space today. So, well, I do have to say that this is the very, very first bullpen episode. So I'm taking a screenshot right now of this so that we can, stick it in the old diary or album there for us. It's going to be a good episode. And just to kind of tell you a little bit about me and kind of why this topic is so kind of close to my heart is, for me, I grew up on a cattle ranch, and the term "take the bull by the horns" has always been kind of like a driving ethos for me. For an example, like growing up on that ranch, one of the things, being the youngest of a whole bunch of brothers, I was always trying to prove myself. One thing that we always did is we would go out into the field and try to wrestle down some of these younger bulls, that we had in the herd, and, grabbing your arm around the head and locking arms and trying to wrestle them to the ground was always a test of strength, but also kind of more of like bragging rights kind of thing. As we get older, our bodies get more mature, that kind of thing. It was, you always tried to pick the biggest one out of the herd that you could do. And, So for me, that whole phrase, take the bull by the horns, has always been kind of a underlining ethos for me in my career. Had a lot of friends go on to ride much bigger bulls at the bigger level in the rodeos and things, but I took that and brought it over to the business in my career and things like that. I've been a serial entrepreneur, so what drove me to this whole thing is with receivable is, I mean, how can you go wrong, right? Bull and grabbing the bull by the horns and really love what they're doing for the local economy of businesses. Being a small business owner myself, it's, that liquidity is very, very important, but also having a passion for crypto, has really opened a lot of doors. And so, really like what they're doing over there. Plus, there are so many other unique things that can be done with AI, RWAs, things like that. So, excited to jump into today's discussion. Thank you again for being here. And, if you guys are just tuning in, please make sure that you give this space a share so that it can help with the algorithms, get it out there and go. I think this is definitely going to be a great space for a lot of people participating in it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and kick off the today's topic, which is grab the bull by the horns. So before I start, we've got some other people here people in the US might understand that term a little bit more, but, I think it's pretty intuitive of what it actually means, but I know we've got some foreign people on the call. Are you guys familiar with what that is? What that term means?
Do you mean taking the bull by the horns?
Yeah.
I'm Latino, so we say agarrar el toro por los cachos. He's basically the same, and it's actually something that my grandpa used to say a lot. He used to sit and watch on television, the Spanish toros, the Spanish bull, all the stuff. So I would sit down with him, and he would say all the time, like, the toreros had to, get the guts and do the stuff they had to do and take the bull by the horns, in Spanish all the time. So I do. It's something that we can take as a life standard, in general. Like, if we don't do, I have this idea that if there are things that must be done and I don't do them, nobody else will do them but me. So literally, sometimes I know that can be a little bit toxic because we have to know how to delegate, but there are these specific details. And when you create a product, when you want to jump into the entrepreneurial road, you need to understand that when you create something, it has to be under that premise, like, you are going to take the bull by the horns and lead and figure out how you're going to fight it, because it can, if it slides from your hands, it can give you a very good hit, and it can screw you over. So you have to be there, you have to face it, and you have to do it yourself sometimes. And yourself, I mean, as a project, with your other people, or as an individual. And that's a term I actually like a lot, and we use a lot in Spanish speaking countries, mostly from Spain, and previous generations used it a lot, but it remained in my head from my grandpa.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I love those kind of stories, especially when they have that nostalgia feel to it, right? So, but yeah, just like you said, taking the bull by the horns is all about facing the challenges head on, with courage and determination. Even though they may be tough, situations, but, I think that's what it's all about for small businesses and even crypto projects that are starting out, trying to get going. It's all about the daily grind, getting up and hitting that beaten path, like, every single day, until you make it. So, I definitely know from my conversations with Jeff over at Amplify and Soulbound, we're getting to know each other as well. But, with Scott and George, it's definitely a grind to try to get things going and making things happen. So, So with that being said, first question is, when we talk about, community building and building up crypto communities specifically, What are some of the best tips, tricks, and trades that you guys recommend for anyone that's listening in that's wanting to build a crypto community? What kind of suggestions can you give them?
Can I jump first because I need to grab some water and
Yeah, go for
I'll be AFK for
it.
a minute after my statement. But I believe one of the biggest tips, and it's actually what got me into community management in general. It all started in 2016, 17 when I was still in Venezuela because I was born and raised in Venezuela, and we had this meme page, a friend and I, right? And that was our practice ground. After a couple of years and making it successful with over 15K people like sharing the memes, and I was even finding around people in my contact list on WhatsApp sharing the memes, and they had no idea they were created by me sipping some mate and talking to my friend on the phone, And that was good. But then I said, how should I interact with people? And then I started to comment, to learn, to see who were the community members that were engaging with the memes and doing stuff, being there present, sharing after we just publish and all that stuff. And then I realized, I said, okay, I can do the same, but in English, because I also have command of that language. So what if I use my language skills and my willingness of, learning about the community members, my desire to understand where they are from, why they are here, and how we can all together thrive on this. And then I applied I remember on Telegram moderation for the Spanish speaking channel of Swissware. And then what happens is that I was translating their articles, right? And by translating their articles, I was giving access to the information for those who did not have the high command of the language. And that enabled me to build relationship with the community members in that funnel. Then from the Spanish, I also speak French. So I jumped into the French channels and I started to interact with the French speakers and recognize which were the community leaders in that other language and build a relationship with them because they had more willingness than just a regular consumer of the product to contribute within the ecosystem. And that way we would be able to build a relationship together, right? And yeah, I believe that was like a game changer for me because that enabled me to see beyond that I could actually have an impact, and not only my language, not only my community, but more than that, more than just my niche. And that then everything overlap. And actually, I was hosting their Discord AMAs when we started. They were called cafes. And we started with the English one, and it was only like the project manager, 2 community members, a community leader, and myself. I still have one of the pictures that we took a screenshot, like you said here, like taking the screenshots of the first ones that are here now. And this was 2019. Yeah, this was 2019, 2020 before the pandemic. And then obviously like people couldn't meet in person. So where do we hang out during the pandemic? On Discord. And we were there building. And we moved from having it in just one language to have it in 2 languages per week and in 4 languages per month. So we did Spanish, French, English, German, and we were looking to activate Portuguese speakers, Italian speakers, and more. So it was a very, very pretty and nice experience. And I think that's a tip, like identify your skill set that you can contribute within a community and build from that with the other community members. Learn from them who they are. I don't know how old are they, like what do they like to do, and bring the conversations to the table. They like rock music, let's talk a little bit someday. What's your favorite band? Or do you like football? What's your favorite team? I love football. And that's an example. Like yesterday we had some back and forths on spaces because we're talking about our favorite teams and why we choose them and all that stuff. So yeah, that's my take. I think it's identifying your value proposition to the communities and building from them.
No, I love it. Love it. Love how you point out like you're going towards the different communities. You're going to them. You're kind of catering to them, speaking their language in a sense. So yeah, definitely love that. Scott, you got your hand up.
Hey, yeah. So, I mean, look, arguably community is like the most important aspect of any project in Web3. I mean, I would say like crypto projects live and die by their community, right? Um, it's like the biggest factor, right? You're trying to build a following of users, participants, investors, LPs, right? Everybody's a member of your community. And if you want your project to thrive, you have to do a good job building and engaging with and nurturing that community. I think, it comes down to like, excuse me, articulating a clear mission, right? It has to resonate with people too, right? They have to be passionate about it, right? I mean, because you're going to have like, you're going to have your traders and your degens, and they're going to jump from project to project, and they're going to, when something's, hyped, they'll be into it and then they move on. But like, when you're talking about, building a sustainable long-term project, you really need people to be passionate about it. And you do that through your community. You have to shape your narrative, and you have to articulate it, and your community has to know exactly what problem you're trying to solve, and also that you can do it. I mean, the credibility factor is important too. So you have to articulate the mission and the problem solution set. You have to build the community. You have to engage with them. I mean, that's why we all do these spaces, right? And why we're constantly trying to crank out meaningful content that educates people in the space on what we're doing and the value behind it. You have to keep talking. You have to keep sending messages out. And you have to give the community like a reason to participate, right? Like you have to give them skin in the game, like, whether it's through rewards or incentives, governance, access to things, exclusive things that, people outside of the community don't get, makes them feel like they belong, I mean, like, you see like artists do this all the time, right? Like recording artists and stuff. So, they're like the original community builders. And so, as long as you're doing that, you're doing it legitimately and you're doing it with good intentions, it's gonna benefit your project. But once you lose your community, right, it's game over, and literally like overnight, right? I mean, good projects die every day because they fuck up their community, right? It's that simple, right? So you can't, you have to take it very seriously. You have to care about your community. You have to be honest and transparent with your community. You have to keep messaging your community, and you can't overhype without delivering, right? You have, if you build buzz and you get interest, you have to fuel that with progress and show everybody that you're working towards your goals, and everything you're doing is aligned with the mission of the project.
No, I love it. Love it. You brought up a good point. It totally brought back a memory, a quote off of a Kevin Costner movie called Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. I strongly believe with what you just said, finding like-minded people and sticking to your guns, and you'll definitely connect, and you'll start building a community around that as
Yeah,
well.
as long as the community is not just made up of a bunch of ghosts that nobody else could see.
Yep, 100%, 100%. Let's go with Amplify. You have your hand up.
Hey, yeah, good. So I know you say build and they will come. I think that maybe that's not so true in Web3. I think it's sort of changing a little bit, or that sort of ethos is changing a little bit, right? Because, well, primarily people don't build much before they start, shilling things. So lots of projects have a big community, but actually very little to show for it, and that's great on the marketing front. I think if you build something solid, you need to find the right channels to drive those users. I think one of the problems you have in crypto, or at least this cycle compared to previous cycles, and I've been in the space since 2017, is this has been a very weird run, right? And what I mean by that is a lot of projects typically can sort of gauge when things are starting to, ramp up in the markets, and then they can start, almost timing that with we've actually, directly experienced as well. We've done 2 or 3 different occasions. We've had to sort of increase momentum and then decrease it again because the market has changed in a matter of 2 weeks, and the sentiment of everyone has radically shifted from being like super bullish to absolutely do not want to spend a single cent on everything. And if you continue to try and raise into that or launch into that, it's going to be massively detrimental to your project. And there's no project that can survive that, really. I don't care how big you are. At the end of the day, the bigger projects have bigger valuations, which means they just have more sell pressure when things are going down. So it doesn't matter if you're, a 100 million FTV project or whatever else, you're going to suffer. And so this is extremely difficult for projects to manage because you're constantly trying to manage marketing and community building with development, because realistically, we should all be spending all of the capital up until pre-TGE on building a product and building a small, but core community of testers and triers and, your 1,000 true believers. But that's not the case. Most of the money has gone on marketing and trying to increase and stuff like that. And that just really shifts the problem, because that's what I believe a lot of these projects never come to fruition. This is why I believe that the tech that we could potentially have isn't quite there, because there's so much of this emphasis on driving this marketing, which I think is just completely useless up until around 2 months pre-TGE, right? And so I think that's a big thing that a lot of founders, at least first-time founders, go through, is understanding that and actually, how can we change that? And I think that comes down to the launch pads, the VCs, and just this sort of general, this idea that this is how it's done. I think all that needs to radically shift in the next, few years in order to really catapult great products in this space.
Yeah, I liked what you said. Before we move on to Soulbound with their hand up, I do have a follow-up question for you. You talk about kind of the marketing techniques to try to get people in. It's a new age kind of thing. How are you guys basically trying to sift through the noise of people that are joining, the pure speculators that are coming in versus those true valued community members that you're looking for that are going to be those long-term supporters, those brand ambassador type of people? How are you kind of going through that currently with your project?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's hard to sift through it, right? Because most people are speculators and most people want to just join a project before it takes off and sort of make a quick buck, right? That's just generally what people are doing. It's difficult because so the way that I would do it and the way that we're currently doing it, but the way that I would do it if I was starting from the very beginning is, somebody here mentioned beforehand about incentivizations, right? So you want to incentivize people through airdrop or whatever else it might be. What I would look to do is I'd look to identify perhaps a handful of communities, like actual, good quality communities with real users, whether that's trading communities, whether that's educational communities, whatever it is. It's no project or prices or whatever. It's some sort of a community that's Web3 focused that you can tap into, and reward them specifically. There's no point in giving, an airdrop for people who, follow quests who have no interest in your product. Why don't you go to these communities and go, listen, I've got this 5% here of supply. I want to give 1% to each of these 5 communities, but in return, I want to be ingrained in your community. I want you guys to push, our content. I want you to have them test and whatever else. They don't have to commit to any capital. They don't have to invest anything. I just want them to come in and see what we're building and give feedback and all the rest of it. And that alone will be so unbelievably powerful compared to this, like, the VC wants to see 100,000 Twitter followers. Okay, better get some giveaways on the go. And, Galaxy is doing this campaign here and you're doing a $10,000 giveaway as well. It's just, that's all muck. It really is. And it works close to TGE. But before TGE, it's just a colossal waste of money. And so, yeah, that's what I would do to really focus on trying to find that core base of users.
Awesome. Thanks. Let's go over to Soulbound.
Yeah, there was a statement previously that was mentioned that I had my train of thoughts and it was lost. But I think in readapting, it's very important to mention when we're running like this sorts of identification of potential key community members and collaborators and other projects that can do stuff alongside you, and highlighting the members that are there. Like when we were just doing a soulbound token, I remember during the alpha, we had people like fighting for the leaderboard, to be up there because they knew that was an access to potentially collab with us. And we were doing the newsletter from our one community member that wants to contribute that way. We were getting video editing, we were getting graphic designs for Discord banners and call to actions of events, and we even like testers of a platform we had there. Like we had community members that were identifying bugs or were coming with a different perspective, because that's an issue that we tend to have sometimes. And it's that, as humans, we get biased when we're building something, believing that we know it all, and that our perception is the right one, and what we need is different perspectives so we can build a broader perception on the things that we're building, and from that, also reward and acknowledge the willingness of contributions that community members can input. So yeah, readapting is a thing that was flying in my head.
Great point. Let's jump over to Scott. You got your hand up.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to like, targeting the right participants and the right investors. Because, if you're a real project with a real use case, and, clear revenue models and long-term utility, and like particularly with us, we're operating within a heavily regulated framework, right? So, we want, serious capital and professional investors that understand, the models that we're building and the risk management, the real world adoption, right? Retail investors, it's all about hype and emotions and FOMO and quick profits. And, that's not what, at least for us, that's not what we're trying to target. And so the way we're going about it, and again, like we just emerged from stealth mode, we're just starting to build our community. But this is the most critical time, right? Because we're building the foundation, for our community, building and engagement and management and everything that we do, every day is going to impact the project, because the composition of our community is, because we talked about it, right? How important community is and how, projects live and die by their community. So it's really important to bring the right people to your community. And so for us, we're doing it through, really two things, transparency and education, right? So, if we're trying to attract serious investors, they don't want hype. They don't care about hype. They want data. They want to see audits, and, they want to see that your tokenomics are tight, and they want to see, real world adoption and how your project creates real world value. So the more transparent you can be, the better off you're going to be, because, anybody can vet your project and see what you're doing and how you're doing it, and that you're for real. And then when it comes to education, you want people to they want to understand what you're doing, right? And that's particularly challenging for us, because we're bridging two worlds. We're building a two-sided market that bridges Web 2 and Web 3, right? And for the most part, most of the people in the Web 2 market, the Web 2 side of the market that we're building, they don't really understand that much about Web 3, particularly like, the DeFi protocols and a lot of the complexities involved in that stuff. They're just learning about it, right? And then at the same time, what we found, at least, a lot of people in Web 3 don't really know much about the revenue-based finance industry, or even that it exists, right? So we have two different markets that are very adjacent. They have a lot in common and a lot of potential synergies. Obviously, we're trying to capitalize on those synergies with our product. But they don't really know much about one another, and so we have to educate both markets on the subject matter. So like what we're doing is we're trying, for each market, we're trying to explain the other side and how it works in layman's terms, and provide real use cases. Where with the revenue-based finance industry, which is really, I mean, those are our customers, right? The funding providers in that industry are who we're targeting. It's who we're building for. It's their problems that we're trying to solve. And so, we're investing a lot of time and resources into creating educational messaging that explains how blockchain works and what is tokenization and how can this technology benefit the industry and make it safer and more cost effective and faster, right? So I think those approaches are really the ways to get the right kinds of people into your community.
No, great points. Really, really good points there. Some of the things I look at from a community growth standpoint as well is if you look at the cognitive behavior of online users, there's a model that I like to use quite a bit in my UI UX design stuff is known as self-determination theory. It's a great thing if you want to go down a deep rabbit hole. I highly recommend it. The reason why I recommend it is because Edward DC basically formulates a model of like how you basically take people as they come into your community, how you can help them kind of cultivate into that intrinsic motivation, that autonomy with your brand, with your project kind of thing. And for me, I feel like having a good solid base of brand ambassadors or project ambassadors that understand what you're doing, they feel like there is community support there. These people will be the ones that will help catapult you to the next level. There's a lot of projects that I've been involved where a lot of, community members have been promoted to mods, to, community managers and have kind of just moved up through the ranks because they've gotten involved, right? And, one of the best ways to grow your community is through word of mouth. And, for me, when I look at communities and I look at the organic health of a community is you've hit it home and you've got a really healthy community when a new person comes in or an existing person comes in to a Discord channel, to Twitter, to, wherever you have your communities set up and ask a question. And before the mods or even team members can get a chance to answer it, you've got community members jumping in there to answer fellow community members questions. And so for that, there's a lot of uniqueness there as well, because it's one of those kind of safe environments. And that's what you get that, in my opinion, that's where you get a lot of the speculators out of the window. Yes, there will always be those speculators coming into play, but this is where you start developing a lot of those long-term people. Plus, a lot of it has to do with the design of the ecosystem, right? Trying to make it so that people understand it, that they want to kind of keep participating in it, so that they're just not coming in and basically trying to look for that quick ROI. But yeah, I definitely have a follow-up question on that one. But let's jump over to Soulbound, see what they have to say.
Yeah, you mentioned a solid group of ambassadors. I believe that everyone who's willing to engage with a project and really like dig deep into learning and then spreading the word out of it, like gospel to projects. They need to have like they really need to be like on their feet, and the knowledge base, the education, it's so important, because otherwise when they're spreading the word, they won't do it right. And also another element of it, it's identifying different sorts of ambassadors, right? Because I remember, like, on projects I've seen ambassadors and community leads and stuff like that who are, some of them are very strong in the way they communicate and they go straight to the point. They don't take BS from anyone. And others are like, a little bit more soft, and they are more open to certain types of conversations that can be, let's say, an energy drainer or a drag. And it's so important, to have a well, like, different set of ambassadors that can provide that value, because we all have our cultural backgrounds. We all have our own way of perceiving the projects and life itself, and how we flow through all of that will definitely have an impact on the general outcome of how healthy a community is. And there's one element there that gets my attention a lot, which is it's so easy to, make noise about negative stuff. And I believe when I wasn't using X for professional purposes, I would see just negative news, and it was so negative all the time. And you would see how the engagement was farmed that way. Many socials work with that premise, right? But when you are trying to provide positive feedback, positive thoughts, positive energy, you get also to fight back again the food, against the FOMO, against those who want to, tear down the project from creating uncertainty amongst its users and other community members. So it's very, very important to be transparent with the ambassador group and build alongside a group of healthy ambassadors. So that replicates down the road as the time goes by on the general outcome of the healthiness of the community.
Yeah, great point. Great point. So, there are a lot of tactics out there, that, projects try to jump on, utilize quite a bit to grow their space. I think it was Jeff that was talking about it earlier. VCs want certain numbers on social things, so they jump out there and do these kind of bandwagon type of marketing tactics to try to grow their communities. There's a lot of talk around, implementing AI agents to moderate, to engage with community members, all this kind of stuff. And so, Receivable uses AI, Amplify uses AI. I'm not quite sure. Does Soulbound use AI? If it does, this question's perfect for you guys as well. But, if AI was to, join your team, how or where would you guys utilize that team member, moving forward in your project?
Yeah. So for us, we are aiming towards integrating AI agents with virtuals. We'll like deep into details down the road as we are releasing everything, step by step publicly. But what I can tell you is that we do see the value of AI agents into supporting the creators, how they can craft their experience using the AI tech. Because I mean, you can see how, if leveraged properly, AI can be like a very good friend for your project and your environment and ecosystem. And it can shorten so much time, effort, energy, everything. Like, who doesn't use like AI to some extent nowadays? I believe so. And, it's so important that we stay up top, like renovating ourselves and implementing all of this, because otherwise we will see the difference on the projects. And also, we need to be aware of something, which is to be able and build a proper AI funnel into a project. It's not going to happen from one day to the other. Everything here, and I believe on the blockchain, because we're building in public, it's trial and error. So we need to be aware of it and be building with that awareness, not only for ourselves as builders, but for the general space. Because what I have identified in spaces and conversations and Twitter threads and whatever you want to call them, X threads, whatever, even on threads on Instagram now that they have it, everybody's mentioning AI, but like a big chunk of people don't know how to eat it. They don't know how to eat AI. You put the plate there on the AI on a silver plate, and they have no idea how to eat it. But others who are crafting the narrative, others who are educating, can be the thing that flips the table and provide that education, so everybody can have a broader awareness and start to use it in a better way. I see George raise hands and Amplify as well, so I'll let you guys speak.
Yeah. Um, I like everything you said. I think one thing I would like to add is that with the pace of AI innovation and adoption, I mean, it was almost unheard of 3, 4 years ago for anyone to even have a concept of ChatGPT. Now you say it and it's as accessible as Google, at least to, when you have a conversation in a normal world, people even go to check it. But I think building for the future of that is so important. So yes, right now AI has a specific role, but I like to think about it from the inverse. Is in the future, how is AI going to come and interact with our platform? And to me, that means personalized AIs. I think Amplify has a piece of this as well. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But the idea of people being able to natural language say like, look, I want to invest. Here's my risk for like have the AI guide them through, just like a financial advisor does at a bank. It's coming in a big way. We see that in robo advisors and TradFi and personalized agents and crypto. But I think being able to ensure that your organization is able to interact with those, give them content the way the AI wants to see it, which is different than the way a human wants to see it, being able to ensure that they're able to interact, even giving that AI, like a personal AI, the ability to index and talk to your own internal AI, right? Like building into that future, I think is just so important. And so that's why we're going to see the roles dramatically shift from, content building, a little bit of community management, all the way into almost sales. I like sales and customer service. I like to think about it. So I'd love to hear Amplify's thoughts as well. I know they're in the space.
Go
Want me to
for it,
jump in
Jeff.
now?
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like people ask me this all the time, like where do you see the future, of whether it's DeFi or finance or whatever it is. Ultimately, it's going to be not player versus player, but agent versus agent, right? And this is the beauty of the blockchain. I spoke to somebody about this before. Like, people don't realize what's coming, which is full interoperability across multiple sectors, right? At the touch of, not even the touch of a button. So beforehand, like let's say you're in real estate and you want to get into, the S&P 500, you have to sell a portion of your real estate. You have to wait for that, to go through. You have to wait for the money to come in. You pay whatever taxes you do, then you get your money, and then you upload that into a platform where you buy, index funds, right? But in the future, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to sell your tokenized real estate, acquire that capital immediately, and then automatically, buy essentially a tokenized, index fund. And so what you'll have here is agents that will essentially be able to seek out the best, trades, the best yields, the best whatever it might be, instantaneously across multiple markets, commodities, stock exchanges, crypto, real estate, fine art, whiskey, whatever it might be. And what the user will do, I don't even think it'll be text to action. I think it'll be speech, right? So you'll talk to it like you do Siri or like anything else. And they'll say, listen, Jeff, how are you feeling? What do you want to do? And you say, well, look, I want to try and aim to get around 15% APY on my money for the next few years, but I really want to do it in a way that's, super safe. So if I can't get 15%, if I can get 10%, then that's fine by me. And it'll act on that. It'll speak to you as though it's your bank advisor, a financial advisor, or a stockbroker, but it will be an AI that will, basically go out and seek these AI agents that will execute all of these tasks for you. And so that's what I see the future being. We're still obviously a while away from that. We're building towards it. Like somebody said, I think we are where we are now is like online banking in 1996, right? So we've got a long way to go. But, in 10, 15, 20 years time, we'll probably be there. And so it's a really exciting time. And I definitely think, AI agents will be moderators in groups and they'll talk to you as though you're a normal person or interacting with a customer service representative. All banks will be powered by, AI agents speaking to you on the phone. There probably won't be any wait lines as well because there'll be 1,000 or 10,000 agents at any given time who can reply to anything that you have and help you in the most polite way possible, who don't have a bad day, who don't speak, nasty. And so there's all these great things coming with AI, I think. And yeah, it's exciting times. Went on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah.
I'll actually continue the tangent because I love it a lot. It's where I think about how, a company who wants to future proof themselves, sure, build on chain. That's a no brainer at this point, right? It's been said that's the future. But to go further is I think exactly what you're talking about. And that's why I think, interoperability, building bridges, not moats, ensuring that you have some way to oracleize, yourself in an intelligent way into places that everyone is accessible. And then index it, like being able to index everything off each other. I think it's going to really change the future. Like you were talking about the settlement between real estate to going into a mutual fund. It's, you almost won't even be able, like, have to settle at some point too. This is just a very big tangent, but I like it. There'll be funds and index funds where we'll be able to leverage against each other. Right now, if you go into Robinhood and you see, it says like your crypto portfolio cannot be used as margin in your trading portfolio. But like that's rapidly changing today. So I think we're going to see that grow and grow and grow. And exactly what you said, Jeff, is that is the future that if you want to be future proof, you have to build for, is being able to accept anybody's individualized AI and be able to help it in the best way.
These are all great points. We could definitely go down another rabbit hole, but I want to be conscious of everybody's time. Good news is that we've definitely got more episodes coming up on this very topic. So, definitely, set this time, each week, every Wednesday. We'll be doing them at, oh god. 8 or 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. So, mark your calendars for that. It's definitely going to be a good one. In about 2 weeks, we've got one coming up, when it talks about what happens when AI meets RWAs. So, we've already got a pretty good lineup for that one as well. So you know, we'll extend an invite to Jeff and to Soulbound. If you guys want to come back for that conversation, definitely hook us up and DM me and we'll get you hooked up there. But, with just a few minutes, let's just kind of do some quick outros. I'll let you guys shill any kind of alpha, anything you guys want to share on the outside of that. But we definitely appreciate you guys. Let's go with Soulbound. You got your hand up. Let's go
Yeah,
with you.
I'll be brief. You guys were mentioning about like we are on banking like 20, 30 years ago because it's a long time already, 96. But I hate banking in general, and I understand the pain points from that. I never liked it since I got my first account when I was 16, and I never liked the full experience, even like over a decade ago. So, and still, so that's why I jumped into blockchain actually and doing stuff with finance on it. And I think it's on us, the ones who build, the ones who create, the ones who are doing like stuff actively and having here for a while, to improve the experiences for everybody who's using it, so they don't feel like they are back in 96. Yeah, when it comes to the closure, yeah, it's been a very nice space. I really like being here and getting to hear your insights, guys. Tomorrow we'll be doing ours and we'll be speaking about XP, so about XP. And in general, I believe XP goes alongside reputation, and that's one of the most beautiful things of blockchain, which is, building legacy through reputation systems. And that's actually how we've seen Kaito being successful on people's mouth lately, and people starting to do stuff with ethos, although it's gatekeep it right now on the invites. But anyways, yeah, thank you for having me here. We'll be speaking about XP tomorrow, and I'll drop our Medium profile here so you can guys check our articles and see stuff, because there's juicy information about our node sale there. So yeah, see you on a next episode, and thank you for having us here.
Yep. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Let's jump over to Jeff.
Hey guys, yeah, keep it nice and brief. So Amplify, luckily, I think this week, all going well, we will launch our MVP on our public beta. It will be on mainnet, so people will be able to earn yield and farm points for the upcoming airdrop. Ideally, we want to launch within 1 month, so it can be a nice sort of quick way to get involved and sort of carry momentum forward. So yeah, if anyone wants to understand more about that, I've just dropped a link into the thread here. Just join our Discord, comment, Bull in the main chat. We'll add you as an early adopter. You'll get early access, multipliers for getting involved early on. Obviously, we're looking for people to take part, provide feedback, and hope to see some of you there.
Love it. Love it. George, let's go with
Yeah.
you next.
I think thank everybody for coming, right? Like from Receivable and all of us here building what we're building. And like you said, Soulbound is just building from the builders, thank you for coming, participating, being here. It was great. And just follow us as we build. Our socials are getting more active. Like Scott said, we're coming out of stealth. Our website is up. We're starting to build and get things available for people soon. So just follow us as we continue to build.
Love it. Love it. Scott, take us
Hey,
home.
hey, man. Thanks so much for putting this together and for doing an excellent job as always, hosting and moderating this panel. It was a pleasure getting together with all these guys. Like Jeff said, we're starting to build a little crew. So it's good. So I look forward to doing more of these. with these guys and anybody else that is passionate about the space and passionate about building and solving problems and making really cool stuff. I love the take the bull by the horns theme. I didn't know you were going to go there with your bull wrestling stories. I'm like really impressed. It was unknown to me before, but a lot of respect for that. I'd love to give that a try one day. Maybe we'll go run with the bulls. Anything bull themed is really on brand for us. I think, I don't want to speak for my team, but I think we're all perma bulls when it comes to crypto and blockchain technology and real world assets and AI and all this cool stuff that we are. I mean, what a time to be alive, right? So this is great. I really appreciate being a part of this, and I look forward to doing more of these.
Yep, exactly. So thank you to all of our panelists that have taken time out of their busy schedules. And thanks to our listeners that are tuning in. We appreciate you guys listening in as well. We couldn't do these spaces without you and your support. So if you haven't done so already, those that are up on stage, give them a quick follow. They definitely deserve it. They are definitely legends in the space and what they're doing. So likewise, Red Bull, if you ever hear this, please sponsor the Bullpen. We would love it. I need some more Red Bull for my mini fridge so that I can keep doing these. But until next week, thank you everybody. Keep moving forward and keep working to unite all of crypto. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.